Hello everyone and welcome to SmackDown. We are in to the penultimate edition of SmackDown before WrestleMania. It is heating up everywhere we go in the WWE, and it is especially doing so on the Blue brand with everything we saw happening last week on this show, including the closing of it, revolving around one treacherous, tricky, conniving switchblade. And I'm sure he's here to soak in what happened last week on the closing of SmackDown with the attack on Kazuchika Okada, courtesy of Bobby Roode, and the challenge that was accepted by the Switchblade to go with it. At WrestleMania, we now know that the Switchblade Jay White will face the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada. And we know that on top of that, at the end of last week, Robert Roode, who had been sort of aligned alongside Okada by means of them sharing the same enemy, felt that alliance end permanently last week when Roode struck with a glorious DDT onto Okada as White just watched on at what happened. And you can hear the boos raining out here in Houston for him. Jay White doing a fine job of becoming SmackDown's most hated man. And I'm sure he'll have plenty of bragging here tonight about what we saw. And to his opponent next weekend at WrestleMania as well, Kazuchika Okada. I suppose it's about time that we hear from the Switchblade. Jay White barely able to get a word in this moment. Crowd are certainly not happy to see him kicking off this edition of SmackDown, that's for certain. The ever-bragging attitude of Jay White carrying itself over once again here this evening. And the boos, well, they speak for themselves, don't they? Jay White is ready for out with the old and in with the new. He's ready to remove Okada from the top pedestal of SmackDown and to bring in the era of the Switchblade at WrestleMania. Can the Switchblade take down the Rainmaker? Can White take down Okada? Will the mind games be enough for the grandest stage of them all? We will find out at WrestleMania, but one man still isn't finished with the Switchblade, despite what happened last week. Robert Roode is coming towards the ring, but Okada is coming through the crowd. And the Rainmaker doesn't look like he's going for Jay White. He's going into the face of Robert Roode. And he isn't out for blood. He's out for answers. He wants to know why. Why did Roode assault him last week? All Okada wants is to know. The silence speaking for it. Somehow Roode! Roode with right hands onto Okada and sending him into the ring pole. Robert Roode isn't interested in giving Okada his answer, but he's interested in taking the fight to the Rainmaker right now. Robert Roode with a blindsiding attack on Okada, but the Rainmaker coming back here. On the floor, these two men are fighting, who were standing alongside each other just last week against Switchblade Jay White. If you provoke Okada, he will bite. And he takes the legs out from underneath Robert Roode there. Okada has him up, and look out, a German suplex on the ramp to Robert Roode. Okada is in no playing mood here this evening. And he just demands to know why Roode assaulted him last week. Why did he do it? Will we get the answer? Oh! It's Jay White! Blade Runner! White watched on, as we all did just then, with a sick smile on his face. And the moment the Rainmaker turned his back, White was there to pounce. A second Blade Runner. It's not Robert Roode that Okada needs to be focusing on for WrestleMania. It's Jay White. And the question maintains itself. Will the new era come into play at WrestleMania? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a massive evening here of action. And look who has just arrived to the building. The Royal Rumble winner. The Saviour, Ricochet, is in the house. What is going to happen here tonight with Ricochet here on SmackDown? We will find out, but our main event of the evening will determine who will face the Golden Saviour, Kota Ibushi, for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Damian Priest and Kevin Owens, your main event this evening. That is to come later on here tonight, and what has already been an eventful edition of SmackDown. But now we get into the in-ring of it all, and it is time to find out who will face the Saviours for the tag team titles between the Gorillas of Destiny and Perfect. This is going to be a good one. This is going to have bad blood. This is going to have animosity. And I am looking forward to seeing it all brought out onto the table here between these two teams. Perfect, of course, made their way out after the Saviours defeated the Good Brothers a number of weeks ago to say, we're next in line for those tag team titles. We want that gold. They said it was their destiny. Well, in that very moment, the Gorillas of Destiny made their return after a number of months away and said they were back for one thing. Not a takeover of SmackDown anymore, not to stick it to the ownership, but to just be the best tag team in the world and to take those tag team titles yet again. Perfect. They laid out an ultimatum really to the Gorillas of Destiny. They said, hey, step aside, stand to one side, and we'll give you first crack at the tag team titles once we beat the Saviours. The answer was given by Tama Tonga when he had a gun stun into the concrete floor to MJF. It was pretty clearly no. And now, we're here tonight. EC3 and MJF to take on Tama Tonga and Tangaloa to take on Drew Gulak and Roderick Strong at WrestleMania. Of course, it wasn't a good evening for Drew Gulak either last week. You saw the Saviour himself, Ricochet, coming into the arena last week. It wasn't a great week for the Saviours in general. Gulak laid out in the back with a powerbomb into the lockers, courtesy of WWE Champion Tommaso Ciampa. And Ricochet laid out at the top of the show by the Black Card as well. Ciampa saying it's all your fault. Whatever that may be for. Ricochet seemed to have got the answer of it. EC3 stands at ringside though, because here comes his tag team partner. The man with an ego as tall as the Empire State. But if you told him that, he'd probably be pissed off that you didn't pick a taller skyscraper. It's MJF making his way towards the ring. This really is anyone's game. You've got the ego and the stigma of perfect that always carries them wherever they go. But of course you have the tag team foundations of the Gorillas of Destiny. Their tag team title reigns in the past year on SmackDown. They have one of the longest tag team title reigns in recent history. Certainly not a top 10 of all time, but a very, very long tag team title reign nonetheless. And as I said, one of the longest in recent memory. I believe the only one that was longer than it would be the Shield many years ago. That, of course, being World Heavyweight Champion Roman Reigns and the man who is destined to meet his greatest rival at WrestleMania in Seth Rollins. Of course, we all know who the other member of the Shield was, and we all know what he's still doing on the blue brand. Moxley, with that WWE Championship match at WrestleMania to look forward to as well, but it is tag team action that we've got to get us underway, and MJF will soak up this entrance for as long as he can, take in all those boos, because they know it's all for him, and he loves the center of attention. He loves it being all on him and no one else. So here we go. Tama Tonga will start things off against EC3, and EC3 came charging with an attempted lariat there. Tama Tonga had it well scouted. This is going to be a very interesting contest, as I said. Who is going to be able to get the upper hand? Who's going to be able to work the other team down? And who is going to be able to get that all-important pinfall or submission to send them to the grandest stage of them all, to face Roderick Strong and a not at all at 100%, as it will be Drew Gulak. For the tag team titles, we will find out. Early cover made there by EC3, but it's only good for the count of one. Of course, let's not forget, in this ring, Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa certainly have a strong tag team relationship, of course, being related to one another. And of course, their results as tag team champions certainly do speak for themselves as well. But EC3 has got plenty of success as a tag team champion as well, having held those ECW tag team titles in the past with Lotus Clay and Curtis Axel. EC3 knows exactly what he's doing in that ring when it comes to tag team wrestling. It has been a field in which EC3 is well versed, and maybe looking for yet more tag team glory, this time with MJF, who's already taken off a turnbuckle pad. MJF already trying to resort to underhanded levels, removing the turnbuckle pad there this early on in the contest. I don't think Tama Tonga knows that has happened. Jessica Carr certainly doesn't. Tag is made regardless though. Tanga Loa is legal here, and it's an atomic drop, big boot combination to take MJF down off his feet there. Now what can the Silverback Gorilla do here? Tanga Loa hoisting him up to his feet, up on the shoulders here. Look out, is he going to send him into that exposed turnbuckle run? MJF having none of it, hops off in time and takes out the leg from underneath them. And there's the confidence of MJF coming to bite him in the arse. Getting back up to his feet slowly, but comes back with a nice forearm there. And now right hands from the youngster, raining down, and a big German suplex comes in after it as well. MJF by far and away the youngest in this ring as well. And look out now, Tanga Loa, chest first into that exposed turnbuckle rung. A massive impact there, and it's one that could have easily opened the door for Perfect to take control here in this contest as EC3 is tagged in, and you can hear the boos raining out for the actions of MJF. And all of a sudden, the floodgates have opened for EC3 to try and take control here off of that impact for Tanga Loa. But, oh, Loa coming right back here. Big time clothesline there, takes him down, and Tanga Loa fair play to him. He'll stay on offense, despite the damage that may have done to him. Northern Light suplex, and he gets a count of one. But he's staying on offense. Not even thinking about a tag for a minute into Tama Tonga. Rake in the eyes there by EC3. Lariat, cannon, Uranagi slam. Nicely done as well indeed, as up on the shoulders goes EC3, and as I hung out to dry over that top rope with the snake guys. Tag is made, Tama Tonga's legal, tag is made, MJF is legal, and MJF coming in with a full head of steam for the man who assaulted him and laid out the backstage. Couldn't get that all-important final move though, and Tama Tonga takes him down with a drop kick. And look out now, Tama Tonga making him look at the... Oh! Making him look at the turnbuckle rung before he sent him crashing into it. Turnabout is fair play in the eyes of Tama Tonga. Uppercut, and Tama Tonga has MJF against the turnbuckle now, incoming. Oh, caught by MJF into a Uranagi of his own. A big time save there for MJF, for his own sake. Almost became a victim of his own actions. Oh, nice counter there though by Tama Tonga. These two teams certainly do not like one another. That much is plain and clear to see, because they're holding nothing back on each other so far, and it has just been a lot of these guys scrapping against one another. Not a lot of tag team psychology going on here, and certainly not a lot of pinfalls or submissions. They just want to hurt each other. I think the Guerrillas of Destiny were offended by the ultimatum offer from Perfect, and I think to go along with it, rolling cutter from Tama Tonga. And I think Perfect weren't happy with the actions of the Guerrillas of Destiny, but we could see them win. Gunstun! Oh, MJF pushed him away. And in the nick of time that he did as well, because that Gunstun could have sent the Guerrillas of Destiny to WrestleMania for a chance to win their third tag team titles. MJF holding in the shots there on Tama Tonga. Brings him into the ropes. Heat Seeker, got all of it. He goes into the cover to send Perfect to WrestleMania. Tanga Loa makes the save in the nick of time, and it's all falling apart here. It's all breaking down in this ring. Electric chair face buster by EC3. Tanga Loa goes out of the ring. Oh, and MJF goes up and over. Tama Tonga sends him to the outside and comes in and follows suit after him. And the fight carries on. Out of the ring queue between these two. Drop kick by Tama Tonga. And now on the other side of the ring, EC3 on Tanga Loa with a massive lariat. It is all falling apart here outside of the ring. On opposite sides of the squared circle, they are just fighting each other on the floor here with everything they've got. Look out, up on the shoulders, not where you want to be. Oh, Tanga Loa, not having it happen to him again. Fights his way free. MJF now, raining down right hands. Tama Tonga comes up with a counter though, but they're moving further away from the ring than they are to it. Tanga Loa now, with EC3 up and snake eyesing him into the barricade. Jessica Carr keeps counting, and there's the count of 10. Neither MJF or Tama Tonga made it back in the ring. Jessica Carr gave them all the leeway that she could, but in the end, it's a double count out here, and the fight keeps on going. MJF sending Tama Tonga up the ramp. Hang on, he stopped for a minute, and that would be why. It's Roderick Strong on the Titantron. The action has stopped for a second, but the match is certainly over with no winner to be crowned. But Strong with something to say. Seems as if Strong is suggesting that their egos were the reason why they failed here tonight. Wait a minute. And yet another match is made for WrestleMania. Roderick Strong wants to face both teams. Perfect and the Gorillas of Destiny at WrestleMania. A huge bit of news as a handstand is laid out at MJF, and in the ring, ape shit from Tangaloa. Perfect and G.O.D. to challenge the Saviours at WrestleMania. None of the teams victorious there, but a big revelation made by that man Roderick Strong as he walks off. And oh boy, in walks the Saviour. Well, there it is. Ricochet saying that it's all your fault stems back to Moxley being added to that triple threat match at WrestleMania. Ricochet saying it's not his fault what happened, and he does sort of have a point. Ciampa was the one who ended up losing, but he's saying it will be his fault for why Tommaso Ciampa won't be the WWE champion come WrestleMania. Wait a minute. Ricochet wants the black on next week. Our WrestleMania main event, as it was originally meant to be, has been proposed for next week by the Saviour himself. Ricochet wants to face Tommaso Ciampa here on the go-home episode of SmackDown before WrestleMania, the match that was supposed to main event WrestleMania. When the announcement was made all those weeks ago by Ricochet, that is monumental. We could be in for the WrestleMania main event next week, pending the decision made by Shawn Michaels or WWE Champion himself, Tommaso Ciampa. We will be finding out about that one. We will keep you posted as the show goes on that one, ladies and gentlemen. But right now, it is time for the boss, Sasha Banks, to step into that ring a week and a half before she goes to the grandest stage of them all and meets the woman who she is set to hold a dream match with at WrestleMania in Trish Stratus. We've seen over these last few weeks the training regiment of Trish Stratus as she gears up for a final match to face the woman who she started the first ever Women's Royal Rumble match with in Sasha Banks. Sasha out for revenge after she believes that Trish Stratus stole that moment from her to have one more time in the spotlight. We've seen Trish training with Lita, Mickie James, and last week Ronda Rousey. Well, Sasha's here to prove what her worth is in that ring as she drives her double knees down to the gut of poor Carmella here. I would certainly not want to be in Carmella's shoes right now. Sasha Banks is 1 week away from having the opportunity that, to be fair, most women in today's professional wrestling scene would chew your arm off for the opportunity to have to step into that ring with Trish Stratus. But it ain't celebration for Sasha Banks. It's about proving a point It's about proving that she is the best in the world, and she wants to defeat Trish Stratus to do it. But Carmella could be trying to cause an upset here. Super kick to Sasha Banks. Could she look for the next one to follow up onto it? Oh, to try and wire Sasha Banks' mouth shut. Not happening. And Banks is taken down instead there. Look out here, up to her feet. Wrapping the arms around the neck and laying her out with bankrupt. And it's the beginning of the end for Carmella. Sasha Banks called Trish Stratus' training pathetic last week, and here tonight she's finishing off Carmella in quick succession. Banks' statement already locked in. Carmella's nowhere near the ropes. And it is academic. From this point onwards, she taps out, and Banks picks up the quick and easy win. Statement indeed sent by the boss. Trish Stratus can have all the training in the world, but that is what happens when you step into the ring with Sasha Banks. And at WrestleMania, Trish Stratus will do exactly that for the final time in her career. The match is over, but the statement isn't, because Sasha Banks is still stood in that squared circle. And Sasha Banks putting what I suggested into truths by her means that it's all for nothing. She's saying that she's making a mockery of her legacy. That is a step too far. Sasha Banks calling out Trish Stratus to appear on SmackDown next week for one final time before she wants to finish her off at WrestleMania. And oh, come on! A statement's already been sent. Sasha Banks has already said what she needed to say and prove it all as well. She's making it even worse on Carmella now. Another Banks statement locked in here. The damage is done. The statement's been sent. But Sasha Banks is innate in proving her point. She wants to prove that WrestleMania will be the resting place of Trish Stratus' career. We're going to go backstage now, folks, where Michael Cole is standing by with Robert Roode. Man, oh man, this go-home edition to SmackDown just keeps getting bigger and bigger every time a new face appears on the screen. Ricochet wants Ciampa, Banks wants Stratus at the show, and now Robert Roode wants to square off with Kazuchika Okada next week. What is going to happen on this final edition of SmackDown before the grandest weekend of them all? We are going to find out. But right now, we're going to be in for some chaos as well, because it is Nikki Cross who is going to be squaring off here against Shayna Baszler. We know that next weekend it will be Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler for the SmackDown Women's Championship, but Nikki Cross, even in defeat, wasn't going to let it rest that easily. Rolled up by Becky Lynch last week in a very competitive match between the pair of them. Nikki Cross took the opportunity to assault Shayna Baszler and Becky Lynch after the match was over, laying them both down momentarily. And Shayna Baszler, it seemed, wasn't too willing to let that one go quickly. And now the Queen of Spades wants to face the psychotic Nikki Cross here tonight, just over a week before she steps into her first WrestleMania. And of course her first WrestleMania, no less, as SmackDown Women's Champion. Before she does that, she has got to go to the woman stood in that ring, who's ready to go to war with her. And there is the champion. From the moment that Rhea Ripley chose Tessa Blanchard at WrestleMania, the floodgates opened for the participants to choose themselves to Shayna Baszler. And there you saw the one who stood above them all. The man, Becky Lynch, watching on from backstage at the opponent of whom she will face next weekend at WrestleMania, and for that SmackDown Women's title that she is looking to win for a 5th time. It is going to be highly competitive between them two, but Nikki Cross isn't waiting here tonight. Cross not giving Baszler a second here in this contest, sending her into the corner and going straight after her. The title is still on the floor, and Nikki Cross is already trying to go to work here on the SmackDown Women's Champion. Cross may not have the opportunity to fight for the title tonight, but she can still make it a triple threat at WrestleMania. And I think there's a part of it that's looking to do just that here. Or if anything else, with how Nikki Cross is, with how her mind operates, she just wants to hurt whoever's in that ring with her. And Shayna Baszler is that very person. Baszler floats her over, and look at these now. Big time knees into the face of Nikki Cross, and one more for good measure takes Cross down. It's the first time I think Baszler stepped into the ring since she faced Toni Storm at the Royal Rumble. That was a number of weeks ago now. And Baszler is going to want to try and prove herself yet to Nikki Cross, but Cross gets off the back there, or the shoulders rather, of Shayna Baszler. And from the start here we are seeing Nikki Cross is holding nothing back in this fight that she's taking to Shayna Baszler, and her headbutt comes in from the second rope to take her down. Cover made here early on by Cross. Kick out made, and a big time neck crank though follows up there by Nikki Cross to take down the champion for a moment here. The longer this match goes on, and the more it goes on with how Nikki Cross is in the ring and how dangerous she can be, the more it plays into the challenger's hands for WrestleMania. Becky Lynch will want this match to go on as long as possible. She took a beating last week with her all-time rival in Nikki Cross, and she will want Cross here tonight to do the same to Shayna Baszler, because the more she does it to Baszler, the less that Becky Lynch will have to do come WrestleMania. And she will be very appreciative of Nikki Cross, even though she's not going to say that part out loud, that's for certain. Look out here now, Shayna Baszler going to work on the leg. They're stomping down the back of it. Baszler's job is you have to be trying to find a way to beat Nikki Cross without making a tap out, because you can be damn sure that the multi-time SmackDown Women's Champion is not going to be tapping out here. Baszler wrenching on the arm here, and look at that, just the damage that she's doing to Nikki Cross in that moment. Up on the shoulders, this time she gets what she wants, and wrenches on the back after it as well. If Baszler wants to prove a point that she's as dominant as anyone on the SmackDown Women's division, then knocking off the one who is perhaps the hardest to beat in the whole division simply because she won't stay down for you long enough for you to finish her off, is certainly a good way to prove it. You can tell by the pacing of this match, just the difficulties that you've got when you step in that ring with Nikki Cross. It has been 100 miles an hour ever since Cross forced that opening bell by attacking Baszler here. Knife edge chops and strikes coming in, and oh, here we go! To the floor with that crossbody over the top rope, as has been customary since the Royal Rumble. Cross on the outside with a suplex neck breaker. You could hear the thud from that one. and you could see the pain that Baszler was in, but what's going on? Wait a minute, wait. Cross with a chair. Nikki Cross with a steel chair. Hello! Smashing it across the head of Shayna Baszler. Nikki Cross really is psychotic. And she has lost it here tonight. Baszler, your winner in this thing by disqualification, and Becky Lynch thinks it's hysterical. The man is laughing in the backstage area at what she just saw. Her opponent at WrestleMania being dismantled by her biggest rival, and Cross with a punch onto the chair for good measure. She really is a sick individual. Statement sent there by Cross on behalf of Becky Lynch. But next week there are plenty of statements to be made on the final show before WrestleMania. Robert Roode will face Kazuchika Okada days before the Rainmaker faces a Switchblade. And ladies and gentlemen, a WrestleMania main event next week on SmackDown. It is on the Royal Rumble winner versus the WWE Champion days before they meet at the grandest stage of them all. Ricochet, Tommaso Ciampa here on SmackDown. That is going to be monumental. Ricochet and Ciampa finally locking horns with one another. And that'll be days before you throw Jon Moxley into the mix at WrestleMania. That is going to be incredible. It's been a chaotic night already, but now Houston bears witness to its main event. On SmackDown, Kevin Owens and Damian Priest will square up here for the right to face Kota Ibushi at WrestleMania. Who will face the Golden Saviour for the Intercontinental title? Will it be the former Intercontinental Champion Kevin Owens, or will it be a man with a bright future ahead of him on this brand, it feels like, in Damian Priest? We will be finding out in but a few moments' time. This is going to be a great main event either way. There's certainly a strong measurement of mutual respect on either side here. Priest and Owens won their respective matchups on SmackDown in recent weeks. Owens overcame Matt Riddle to get this far, and Damian Priest last week defeating Big E to give himself the opportunity at Kevin Owens here tonight. And the winner will go on to WrestleMania to face Kota Ibushi for that Intercontinental title. It is going to be a fantastic main event here as well. You know, these two are going to give it their all, and they're going to be throwing some bombs at one another as well. I cannot wait to see what will transpire here in this main event. Could Paradigm be on their way to face the Saviours twice at WrestleMania, with Priest and Moxley of course aligned alongside one another in that group? Could very well be the case. Priest with some last minute psyching up on the outside to get him ready for this big time main event. He is stepping into the ring with one of SmackDown's most accoladed talents, 4-time WWE Champion, former Mr. Money in the Bank, former Intercontinental Champion. Kevin Owens has done it all when it comes to singles competition, and he has done the overwhelming majority of it as well on SmackDown over his many years on the blue brand. And I'm sure he would love to go to WrestleMania yet again. Missed the opportunity to be there last year, and I'm sure he would love to make amends for that and go there this year with the opportunity to once again be the Intercontinental Champion. But he's going to have to go through Priest, who has been on a hot streak of momentum for some time. Let's find out here in our main event. Priest and Owens, one-on-one, and a big forearm from Priest in the early goings takes Owens off his feet. Fans skewed a little bit in Owens' side, I would say. Certainly not massively though, maybe 55-45 in the way of Kevin Owens. Priest though is going to just be focusing on that man, in that ring. Just going to be focusing on Kevin Owens. Nothing else matters. Owens early stage here, up on the shoulders, electric chair position. Nice shots there by Damian Priest to get him out of that precarious predicament. And look at the strength of the reverse choke slam. Priest with a big move there to take him down. And the height advantage, of course, going his way. Weight advantage pretty evenly split between the pair of them. But Priest will certainly be trying to use his extra height to good measure here against Owens. But Owens certainly the more experienced in ring of the two of them. But right there outside of the ring, it's Owens driving Priest's body down into the mat. Or down onto the floor, rather, I should say. Look out here, Kevin Owens, top rope. I'm not too sure Priest knows exactly where he is. Crossbody comes down from Kevin Owens. Cover made in the early going here. There's one, and not much more. Let's see what they got to give here to knock the other one off. Let's see what they're going to have to do. Well, heavy hits they're going to have to bring out on one another in order to become number one contender. Will Kota Ibushi be watching this one closely backstage? We know Strong is in the building. We know Ricochet is in the building. Is Ibushi for good measure? Go home driver and all. Good 2 count there for Kevin Owens. Off of it, super kick countered there by Priest. Forearm shot in the face here. Look out now. Priest sending Owens through the ropes into the floor. What has Damian Priest got up his sleeve here? Wait a minute. Priest trying to take a page out of Kevin Owens' book. Went for the apron powerbomb there, but Owens of all people is going to know how to scout it. Punches his way free. And back on the outside with Owens once again, having Priest in his grasp. Snake eyes. Onto the apron. Jessica Carr counting away, but I don't think we have to worry here tonight about this one ending in a countdown or disqualification. These two men have enough mutual respect for one another to ensure that they won't end up that way. Owens gutbuster into a senton. Kevin Owens just doing the right thing here, but Damian Priest catches the boot. What a forearm from Priest. And look at another reverse choke slam. Comes bellowing down onto Kevin Owens. And an elbow drop for good measure as well, as Priest has turned things around in this contest now. In the corner here, look out. Bounces off of it and sent face first into the mat. Priest might see that as an opening here to capitalize. Owens a little bit staggered, a little bit dazed, and with a face full of boot for good measure. Discus big boot from Damian Priest. Not enough to send him to WrestleMania though. Kevin Owens with the shoulder up in time. Owens now, big back suplex. He'll keep fighting, as always does Kevin Owens. Not giving an inch here in this main event is either man. Feels as if there hasn't been a break in the action here. Neither man is truly taking control in this contest thus far. They have just been hammering bombs at one another since the opening bell. Feels like a sprint here to the number one contendership. Big DDT off of the top rope there from Kevin Owens. Moonsault follows up after it. Nice combination. Is it going to send Kevin Owens to the grandest stage of them all? Wow. Far, far from it. A kick out of the can of one. Owens breaker though. Surely that has to be it for Owens. Damian Priest has other suggestions. What a fighter Priest is, but he could be. Oh no, never mind. There's the far out again. I thought that could have been it there for a moment. For Damian Priest, not to be the case. Look at this. Look at the high Gulak power bomb. Priest got all of that one. And Owens now is the one in trouble. Pump handle. Fall away slam. Who wants it more? That is the key question right now. Who wants it more out of these two men? Who is willing to throw things that extra edge in order to take them to WrestleMania? We're going to be finding out here. It has been a pure sprint. Look out here. Top rope. Priest looking to capitalize in big time. Think about it, this is just to become the number one contender. What are they going to do when they're at WrestleMania? So, superplex from the top rope. Both men go crashing to the floor. But Priest still doesn't believe he's done anywhere near enough to finish off Kevin Owens. Hesitated on that forearm. Owens making him pay. With the slightest opening, both guys are getting their way back into this contest each and every time. Torture rack neckbreaker, hooks the outside leg, covers Priest off from the ropes. Kevin Owens, oh, he hasn't done it. What a monumental fight this has been from these two men. And their guts will need to be checked right now to see who wants it more. Feeling froggy, no one home. No one home on that one. Massive lariat from Priest. Oh, and he sees it. He knows the time is now to take the chance. Priest gonna look for that big boot again. And Owens was out of the way. Owens evades, turns round, stunner! Slip through the gap. And Owens isn't going to wrap it up. Pop a power bomb to Damian Priest. What a sprint. What a fight. But Kevin Owens is going to WrestleMania. Owens does it in a chaotic 100-mile-an-hour main event. The big boot missed. The stunner hit. The pop-up powerbomb followed, and Kevin Owens has booked his ticket to WrestleMania. It'll be Owens and Ibushi for the Intercontinental title. What a bout that is going to be. And if this contest is anything to go off of, man, you are looking at a sleeper match there at WrestleMania. One you do not want to miss. And we wondered where he was. Here he is. Ibushi, one more! Oh, come on! Are you kidding me? Ibushi assaulted by Ciampa. This is heinous. Ciampa laying him down here on the floor. Ibushi came out to stand alongside his WrestleMania opponent, and Ciampa just assaulted him here. And now ripping the shirt of the Saviour off of him. Ripping that shirt apart and throwing it away. Tommaso Ciampa now dragging the body of Ibushi from the ramp all the way to the ring. The Blackout's going to use Ibushi to send a message to Ricochet. Wait a minute, there's Ricochet! Ricochet to the aid of Ibushi! And taking the fight to Tommaso Ciampa here! The fight is finally on here between these two in a fashion that we would expect from them with everything that's been said and done. Last week tipped him over the boiling point. And Ricochet's here to make him pay. And especially for putting his hands on Ibushi, there's a measure of revenge. Save yourself, Ciampa! The WWE Champion laid out by the Saviour here at the end of SmackDown. Oh my God, Moxley! Paradigm shift! goes Ricochet! Down goes Ciampa! Paradigm shift to both men! Moxley saying, bring it on! Moxley doesn't care whose fault it is! He just wants it to be him, holding his hand high as WWE Champion of WrestleMania. Ciampa and Ricochet laid out at the closing of SmackDown. Moxley stands tall. The fight is well and truly on for WrestleMania.